Hello, everybody, and welcome to the North American Star League. This is week number 2, Division 4, and we have some amazing games, some maps to go into, and probably some tomfoolery. But before we do, let's do some introductions. I am Jeff In Control Robinson, and to my right, as always, is Andre Greetorp Hangshua. How are you, buddy?
I am super good today. I woke up this morning, and I felt good. I woke up early. It was like 8:30ish, around there.
8:30ish. Okay.
Yeah, got in the shower, just felt good.
That's it? That's where it ends?
Yeah, that's it.
Just felt good, woke up, took a shower. That's
well, if you didn't know, I'm like a germaphobe. You know that.
Tell the people. Tell the world.
I'm a germaphobe, so I love taking my showers.
Showers after everything.
Everything.
Okay.
We'll keep it that way.
If one thing is true, we are freaking clean on the North American Star League. You can't take that away from us, and that's fine. We'll take that one. So this is the pregame show. We're going to talk for about 30 minutes about the players, the matchups, the maps, and that's pretty much it. If you want to just see games, see you in 30 minutes. If you're still here, we're going to talk. So let's talk about some players. Who is playing today?
Well, today we have Hasu Obs versus Goody as our first match. Match number 2 is going to be Braddock versus Machine. Match number 3 will be Cats versus Select. Match number 4 will be Ace versus Stalife. And last but not least, match number 5 will be Rhett versus MC.
Boom, headshot. Now, those are the players. We're going to go into in-depth analysis on each of those matchups in just a moment. But first, let's talk about the maps. And again, we've talked a lot about these maps. We're not going to belabor all the points about the map specifically each and every day. What we are going to do, though, is talk about how they pertain to the matchups given in that play day. So the maps in order are Backwater Gulch, Tal'Darim Altar, and Metalopolis. And just as a reminder, again, today we're still waiting on confirmation from all the members of this league, so we have not changed the maps just yet. But hopefully by tomorrow, I mean, there is a chance. We just have to hear back from everybody, so we'll see. But certainly in the next week, the maps will be updated. But for right now, Backwater Gulch and how it pertains to these matches. Now, Greetorp, it's been interesting. I think I've seen that this map has had a fairly heavy hand in the league. It's actually where you spawn, if it's not cross positions, has an impact.
Yeah, I mean, the rotational symmetry is has such a huge impact. And namely, we always see a lot of Terrans and Protosses on this map.
Yep.
And in every single one of those matchups, I always see that being used. We saw that used in, for instance, White Rock against Show. We saw that used in
Quairais
Naniwa. So it is used quite a bit, and it's just the fact that the natural can be more exposed if you're spawning in certain positions. If you are to the left of your opponent, left like situationally.
Lower left versus lower right.
Well, if you're clockwise to your opponent, then you are in good position. Well, you're on the right, they're on the left, sort of. You're on the right, that you're okay.
If your natural's facing your opponent on Backwater Gulch, and this does occur. Go ahead. I think that was the point.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
The natural phase of the opponent, you're not in great shape. But if you're in cross positions, I think it's pretty fair, and I like it when it's cross positions. So hopefully we get some of that today.
And even so, I mean, just some of the things to look for, people, just so we can go into a little bit more analysis on that. When your expansion is facing your opponent, the way the map works is that their expansion is actually away from your natural, which means that they naturally expand in the opposite direction of their opponent, which is beneficial to them in most cases because you don't want to have exposed expansions, if you will, expansions that are leaning in the direction of aggression. Now, of course, sometimes for Terran that is beneficial because, heck, that's where they want to defend, that's where they want to push out and be aggressive is nearest an expansion. But for the other races like Protoss and Zerg, especially Zerg, to be quite frank, it is not as good. Now, of course, these are considerations for the map, and this is stuff that, of course, we've always had to deal with in StarCraft. There's going to be maps where it's like, shoot, I spawn in such and such location, and it's a little bit more difficult here, and you got to play to that. So it'll be interesting to see how, during the course of the season, this map develops, because for right now, I feel like it's pretty infantile almost. A lot of people, they ladder on it, but they're not training for an MLG. They're not training for one tournament or the other. They're actually just pretty much laddering on it sporadically. So I really like that NASL is producing this map and showing people that actually it can get some great and exciting games. I mean, the Axlav game comes to mind. Of course, it's a PvP, so it doesn't necessarily have to rely on the map. But there certainly is aspects of this map that I'm really looking forward to. one match I want to see go to this game is Liquid Ret versus OGS MC. It would be, it'd be the first match, so we are going to see this. I guess I don't have to say I would want to go see it go to that. But what I would like to see is how Ret interprets this map, because in PvZ, I think even if your expansion's facing the Protoss, it's not quite as big of a deal. Yes, the Colossus is very, very dangerous, and it is able to siege from down there. But because the map is actually fairly open in the middle of the map, I feel like in that regard, it gives Zerg a lot more options, I suppose, to get that concave against the Protoss Death Ball.
Yeah, I mean, they have to be careful. I think it might be problematic a little bit for Zerg, because the big thing, you only have one place to attack, which is that middle of the map. You can't bring the pressure really to your opponent's base, and you don't want to wait until the Protoss is at your doorstep. So what that entails is no layers of force fields being shelled out. You can't, if they get that death ball, they can allocate all of their force fields to that center of the map.
Yeah.
And it can be a little problematic, and taking position for Protoss might be a little bit easier because, hey, especially if they spawn in close positions. But if it's cross positions, I think it's a lot safer for Zerg.
Yeah, and that's usually the case on most of the maps, I'd say. This is our smaller map too, so just keep in mind that any kind of rush tactics or faster aggression type of games probably be played out here. Now, of course, that's not always the truth. Sometimes the smaller maps produce the biggest macro games, but just keep that in the back of your mind. That is something to look for. Now, the next map is going to be Tal'Darim Altar, and we've seen a lot of games of this map. In fact, some of I think the better games, Goody versus Cats, does come to mind, and fortunately for us, both of those players are playing today. This is our big mega map. This is the super big one, and it has not been updated. So there's a lot of destructible rocks. That's one of the considerations you have to have. It's very difficult to expand unplanned around here, otherwise you're going to be extending yourself kind of outside of your own home location. There is a bigger ramp leading up into the natural, or no, excuse me, it's a smaller ramp actually than the updated version, which means Protosses can hold it, but also it's a choke point, which means it's just easier defended for all three races, quite frankly. Going up a ramp for any race is a little bit more difficult. But one of the big things here, one of the matchups I really want to see is going to be Brad OK versus Evil Genius's Machine on here. I think as these maps kind of get more expansive, it can actually be a blessing and a curse for Zerg, in my opinion, against Terran specifically. There is the curse that the creep spread's low, so kind of capitalizing on that aggression is a little bit more difficult, but the blessing is it's easier for them to move around and kind of breathe in macro, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, Terran versus Zerg. Also, I do want to add the dropship play, as the creep spread does affect that, so dropship play becomes a little bit more effective when expansions are farther away. There's that added dilemma or problem, whatever it would be called. But, you know, one of the other matchups I'm looking forward to is similar, Terran versus Zerg. It is Cats versus Select. We have some really great Terran versus Zergs this week. Or actually this division, I should say.
Yesterday was the day of TVP, today is like the TVZ day.
TVZ on this map, I think, is really, really fun because, again, as you said, there is that room to breathe, so Zergs can get their macro up. The creep spread is a little tough, but on top of that, the middle is very open, so you have a lot of different dynamics going here. The Terran has to be on their A game when they're pushing out. They can't be slums about it. They can't just say, okay, attack move, and then as soon as I approach the creep, then I'll start sieging. No, you have to be careful every step of the way. And that's not something we necessarily see all the time, because on a map like, I don't know, like Backwater Gulch, going back to that, it's literally you push out a little bit and you can just siege and it's fine because you don't really have to worry about a ton of position to be careful where you can get flanked. And Tal'Darim offers that as well. On top of that, I like the fact that you can take a fast 3 base.
Yes.
And that's something we don't see a lot. And I do want to emphasize that's all preparation. Yes. So now instead of preparing until maybe 40 supply, you have to prepare until 70 supply. And it shows you who's more prepared, who has the better build, and who has been more dynamic with just their style and how they have built themselves towards that individual point in time. So if it's 10 minutes, I have 100 units at that time.
And I like that.
Yeah, I like that
I like
a
a
lot.
map that rewards a player that prepares for it. I think with the bigger maps, another thing that just needs to be brought up, I'll do it almost every time because I really feel like this should be emphasized. The player that scouts better will be rewarded more. If you have every base covered, if you have the towers established, if you are making sure to get the information, what the larger map does for you is says, okay, here comes his army. You have time to react to it because you earned it. You were scouting in front of his base, you had the towers, etc. And what that allows you to do is then respond. And I feel like the player that puts himself in position to A, get the information, and B, react to it, is going to come out ahead more often than not. I think part of the problem with some of the smaller maps, like Steps of War of Old, or even to a certain extent Backwater Gulch, where you get punished for this, is that sometimes you're like, oh no, he's got that one thing, and I'm dead, because you just don't have time to react to it. So to wrap it up, map number 3 will be Metalopolis. And again, it has not been updated for this play day, so that means we could have close positions. And of course, if yesterday's any indicator, if there is a could, it's going to be a would. the Cosmos, actually, I don't think it was yesterday, it might have been 2 days ago, but the Cosmos were like, you haven't changed the maps yet, you shall be punished with close positions, and we had a lot of close positions. So, of course, it bears mentioning that close positions on Metalopolis encourage a lot of aggression. It also dampens the elbow room, if you will, of a lot of play styles, so Zerg in particular suffers from this. Now, he did have some players rise above it. In fact, last week I distinctly remember saying, you know what, if someone can win close positions TVZ, it'll be Cats, and he did, because he's a super, super creative Zerg. So again, that's just close positions. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, and well, actually, I probably should have not even talked about it, because maybe the Cosmos wouldn't know, and then it'd be like all normal.
Yeah.
But if we go to Game 3, Metalopolis has historically been the map all throughout the beta, all throughout the early stages of StarCraft 2 that people have gone to and really felt comfortable. This is my go-to map. Whenever I lose the first game or whatever, a game in a best of 3, I say, okay, let's go Metalopolis. I feel like it's a really... It's the middle-sized map. It has no real severe map gimmick in the sense that there's no destructible rocks leading into your guttural. You know, you're totally fine to have a ramp to defend your base. A natural, it's fairly open. So I feel like all playstyles kind of are applicable in Metalopolis. And there's if there's a match to look here, I'm actually kind of excited for the German versus German, Hasuobs versus Goody. If it goes to Game 3, which I feel like there's a good chance it will. These guys have hit each other in ESLs and DreamHacks and all the tournaments of Europe probably numerous times. The PVT is kind of a classic on this map.
Well, if there's a map to be meching on where we can expect mech, I think it would definitely be... I mean, Backwater Gulch, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad map to mech, but you're really committed to either 2 or 3 base. Metalopolis, you can get those mass bases up, and that's going to help Goody quite a bit. His accessibility to expansions is the most important thing. But going up against Hasuobs, he's such a creative player. I don't want to get into it too much, but I think Metalopolis is really nice, and I think we're going to see a really nice game on Metalopolis for Hasuobs versus Goody if we get there. Cross the fingers, man.
That'd be a good series. Now let's go to the players a little bit. We talked about the maps, talked about the considerations there, and we're going to do the players in reverse order as per usual. The last one is going to be Liquid Ret versus OGSMC, and I'll set this up for you, Green Torb. Liquid Ret, actually, Team Liquid in general only has 1 win on the scoreboard. It is TLO? Liquid TLO in the first week. Everybody else has lost. HeyPro is 0-2. Who else lost? Rhett and Tyler. So only Tyler, TLO lost as well. So he's 1-1 now. So Rhett is a superstar player. He absolutely is a fantastic superstar player. He won Assembly in Europe. He has been in and around the finals just about every tournament he qualifies for. He was in the GSL, qualified for that, did pretty dang well. In fact, I think he should have done better. I mean, not to hold that against him. What I mean is, like, had he won that the game on Steps of War comes to mind, and it was really painful to watch. But I was rooting for him big time. Now he's going up against OGSMC. I feel like he has no good luck. He's ran up against a tough opponent.
MC is the best Protoss in the world right now.
Perhaps the best player.
Kind of a crappy position to be in. But if there's anybody that can do it, I think in this group, Rhett has a great chance. He needs a little bit more confidence because I know he's been on a losing streak, especially in the, it's only been 1 game, but NASL. And I think if he wins this, it'll be a huge confidence booster for all of Team Liquid.
Yep.
I always look forward to Rhett's play because it's it's strategically sound, it's theoretically sound. Although I just want him to use Infestors, man. If Zerg's just use Infestors in their play, I think it will be much better. But no, I think if he uses the same style and the same approach as last week against Ace, he might be in a little bit of trouble. But Red has what it takes.
There you go.
There we go.
Tongue twister.
Yeah, Red has what it takes to adapt and change. And I'm really looking forward to this game as I think... Well, I'm just a fanboy of Red, so I just keep gushing over him. But I think...
Except in between casts. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh. I just want to say that, Red's a great player, and he does not suck.
Oh, I know. It was
does
funny.
not suck.
He went on to say, like, you want him to win so bad.
I know.
Obviously.
I wanted him to win so bad, and he had that game, too. But then he let it go.
Well, let's talk about that series. I mean, the frown upside down for us on this is that Rhett is getting the 2 Korean Protosses out of the way in the first 2 weeks. So, it's like starting off at the highest point on a mountain and like you don't even have your air tank. You're just kind of sucking in dry air. But if Rhett can make it through, like if Rhett comes out 1-1 against Ace and MC, that's a success. That's good. That's a pretty darn good start because the rest of the group obviously is stacked with amazing players, but I think you can consider Ace and MC the 2 favorites. So Rhett does have his hands full. He did lose the week prior, and he is expected, and I'm not saying that for our behalf, I'm just saying he is the underdog, let's be frank, in this match. If he wins a game, if he takes the series, it'll be awesome. And that's, again, one of those, we start off by saying Team Liquid's been losing. It's another opportunity for that to be shrugged off to a certain extent. And again, I don't mean to keep saying this to emphasize how poor Team Liquid's doing. It's one of the storylines, though. They're an amazing team. The mere fact that people talk about how they're losing games means that the expectation for Team Liquid is for them to win every game. And dang it, every one of their players can have that expectation for all I care because they're worthy of it. So Rhett, once again, up against a huge adversary, but I gotta say, he's got a chance. Against Ace, I felt like in both games there was kind of a moment there where if he just made a slight difference in his play, he would have came out on top against a fantastic pro. The battle on the high yield expansion does come to mind, and we'll play a clip for you guys when we get to Ace that shows that. But I really feel like a couple different decisions, and he is the victor in an amazing match. So our hearts go out to Rhett. He's got OGSMC, and good luck,
Rhett,
sir.
Right there, Rhett.
Now, in matchup number 4, speaking of Startail Ace, we have Ace versus Complexity Stall Life. And Stall Life actually called out the Koreans a little bit in his interview. And, before people jump to conclusions, if you missed the interview, it's not like he was like sitting behind giant sunglasses with the pimp juice and a chalice saying, oh, yeah, they're totally dead. What he was showing was he has confidence, and he knows that these guys get all the attention, and he said, I think I can do it, and I want to do it. They should respect me after I play them, and I am all for it. So I'm kind of a Stall Life fanboy at this point in time based on that interview, and I gotta say, I'm looking forward to how he takes Ace on.
Well, Ace, I haven't seen too much of his PvT, to be completely honest. But if it's like the Korean style, it's going to be a clash of styles. Both of these players, well, at least the Korean style, I should say, is a very abusive. It looks to get these timings on your opponent.
Yep, very timing oriented.
And Stallleif is exactly that. I guess that's why he's Korean, right?
Yeah.
But
he's Korean American.
Not to generalize or stereotype. That's not what I mean.
Are you biased?
No, I'm not biased.
Please.
I'm not biased, sir.
Tell me you're not biased.
I'm not biased. But I'm a statistician. And since he's Korean, he has a higher probability of being a
married man?
timing-oriented player. That's anecdotal, though. So forget my statistics.
You're actually appropriately using all these big words. It's going to make this so hard for me.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah, you're doing well.
English is my fourth language, too.
I'm doing good. I agree with you, though. Stall Life, I mean, if the machine series any indicator, it was like timing after timing after timing. Yeah. But even the people that kind of play in and around his with him, they know that he likes to play that style. And that's not any kind of diss against him at all. It's just more of a read. That's what he does. Now, I think that gives him a good chance to beat anyone. And I think that's pretty cool when he's facing... I mean, he is the underdog. When he faces one of the favorites, like Ace, I feel like a well-timed, very well-executed strategy can achieve success against a guy like Ace. Now, Ace is a fantastic player, very much so. He dominated Red. I mean, I know we just got done saying Red could have made a couple different choices, and he could have. He could have come out on top, I feel like, in both those games. But Ace took down the beast that is Red fairly easily. And let's actually look to one of those videos right now and see what that looks like. Area of effect damage. If Red can get a concave, he'll be in great shape. Tries to snipe that Colossus.
Position, though.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs to get down this ramp, else he's going to be in this terrible top position.
Oh my god, he hallucinated for Colossus.
Oh, and he has hallucinated Colossus. I like this play.
Red has to be careful here, though.
I don't like this. Going to be force fielding, segmenting some of the army, and this is what I'm talking about. It's very hard to be able to deal with this. He can't really push in, and
he's
with
pushing
all these
up against
sentries,
his force fields. Yeah.
He doesn't really have a great response to this. Now, force fielding yet again, blinking up, saving the sentry so they're not taking much of the brunt. But still, Red is losing all of his army.
And he's only building Corruptors.
Oh, this is not
He's got 12 Corruptors on the way. He's not building anything else except for 90 Zerglings. I mean, the untold story here is that actually Ace doesn't... I mean, he used up a lot of force fields. The sentries don't do that much damage. And I mean, one of the things that leaps out at me from that video is that Ace was essentially out-macroing Liquid Red. Now, for a lot of people, that statement falls fairly flat on you. It's like, okay, out-macroing, what's the big deal? Red out-macros everybody. Red is a macro monster. Ace had no problem making more units than Red. That was actually only one Colossus in that fight. He hallucinated the other ones. There was another Colossus kind of staying off to the side, but he was actually only there to assassinate the Assimilator and then get sniped by some Corruptors. So it was really only the one Colossus, and without that area of effect damage, it really relies on the gateway units, and he had no problem. So I cannot wait to see how he does PvT, because again, I can't help but to be a bit of a student of the game.
Also, his force fields are pretty fantastic.
Pretty good.
And against
pretty
good.
Pretty good.
Against like a timing-based Terran or timing-based anyone, having that impromptu force field control is probably one of the best ways to fend off against any sort of timing. Just being able to, on the spot, have perfect position, and on top of that, place him fast. I think that's one of the strongest tools in the Protoss arsenal to defend against anything of that nature. So hopefully we're going to see some good games coming out of this TVP.
Yep, and then in match number 3, and there's actually a lot of really good games today. I'm really tempted to say that this is my favorite. It is Root Cats, who is sitting at 1-0 in the group, versus Dignitas Select, who is also sitting at 1-0 in this group. Both players are, well, okay, I mean, let's just get out of the way. Select is widely considered probably one of the best, if not the best, foreigner Terrans. He is Korean-American, but he plays in all the non-Korean events, so he's as far as we're concerned, a foreigner. Now, Root Cats would not get that accolade. People would not say, oh, he's the best foreigner Zerg. No, nobody would say that. But what everyone would say is he's one of the smartest, most creative Zerg players out there. And for a league like the North American Star League, where you know your matchup a week or two in advance, you know the maps you're playing, I would like to say, and I'm pretty dang sure I'm confident in saying this, in knowing this, Cats train specific strategies for Select. He'll dig up replays on the guy, he'll watch previous games, and he'll sit in that Root Gaming house with other fantastic Terrans like Druby, and he will grind out some really, really cool stuff.
On top of that, his metagame play, which I think is a great counter to Select. His metagame play is outstanding. Select is a player where he gets this accurate information and is able to just extrapolate it, and based on that, make outstanding decisions.
He's the Octopus Terran, by the way.
He's like Naniwa of Terran, I think. I would always...
Oh, well, go ahead, run with it.
Yeah?
Tell me about it.
Okay, well, nothing that Select does is outstanding in my mind. Everything's just fundamentally strong. He does just consistent play. His micro is fantastic. His spreads are always amazing. On top of that, his macro is strong. And he just does what the position calls for. He doesn't do what he wants to. Just always what he sees, and then he reacts to it appropriately. And I think having a metagame player like Katz, where he's going to bait units out. Let's say he'll make a ton of corruptors or excuse me, a greater spire, and won't even make broodlords in anticipation of a high Viking count, and then I'll switch to mass ground to counter that. That's kind of stuff Katz loves to do, just to bait bad unit compositions, and hopefully we can see him having a lot of success against Select. Yeah. I accidentally slipped. I feel silly.
No pun intended there as well. So really looking forward to Root Katz versus Dignitas Select. Both players, again, sitting at 1-0 in the group. And again, a lot of people have asked, so what does it matter? It's, why isn't this as exciting as such and such? Well, it is week number 2, but each of these matches count. You only get to play the guy once, and you want to have that win under the belt. So both players want to go into week number 3 as 2-0, and only one will. And a lot of people, again, oh yeah, Select will win. The Octopus Terran. Octopus Terran. Octopus Terran. Octopus Terran. I heard he's called the Octopus Terran.
Octopus Terran.
Yeah, I twittered about it.
Who said that?
Twittered about it too. Just kidding. A lot of people would say Select's going to win, but, and I'll say this again, this might be the charm. If there's a Zerg to take down Select, it's Katz. Katz will do it. So we'll see. Now, in match number 2, it will be Rock's Brat OK. I'm going to call him Brat OK, and I'm okay with that. Actually, I'm going to even Brat OK with it. And he'll call him Braddock. So it might be a little confusing, but that's how we do our thing. That's how we do our thing with the chicken wing.
I know.
And he'll be going up against Evil Genius's Machine, who very recently is proud to announce Monster as a new sponsor, which is pretty cool for all of the Evil Genius organization, and I am a part of that as well. This is a matchup that I am extremely excited about. I think Brad OK is a fantastically... He kind of reminds me of like the European Select, in the sense that he's very multitask oriented. He will have a drop going off. He will have the front being attacked. Even QXC kind of is like these are the triad of Terrans that kind of remind me of each other. Very, very aggressive, but able to do everything in between equally well. So I know it sounds like, okay, he sounds like Hulk from comic books. What's his weakness? I would say that part of his, I mean, there's nothing super stellar about all of them, but I would put him like a little bit ahead of like a player like Straylock, who is a very, very good Terran. In fact, we saw him just crush Korean Protoss yesterday. But I don't know. It's hard to distinguish something where I can say this is what he does amazing.
Well, their styles are quite different, right? Yesterday we saw, well, we didn't really see Strellick's style. We just saw him defend twice and win twice. But we just saw him defend twice, and when you defend and just win a battle, there's not really a style to that. We saw the build-up to it, but I didn't think that it really showed his style. Braddock, though, I just want to talk about that. When you compare him to QXC, I would agree to an extent. However, I feel like his drops always look to be cost-efficient. They're the bare minimum. They're not looking to kill buildings, for instance. They're looking to be cost-efficient. So you'll see Blue Flame Hellion drops with 2 Marauders, let's say, and 2 Hellions. You'll see those little strike forces that aren't really supposed to be damaging their opponents. They're just nibbling at them. Nibble. I like that. I like that.
I like that word too.
So they're just nibbling, just clawing a little bit, and they're just backing up. And it's to get that it's just to buy time. He gets beautiful army compositions. That's the big thing. Because Terran doesn't have great late-game army compositions, but they have great mid-game army compositions to get those ghosts out with a lot of energy, so it just buys you time. What? If you think otherwise, you are so dumb. You are so dumb. You are so dumb.
And then the other player is Evil Genius's Machine. He's been a little bit silent lately. He used to be in every tournament. He used to be crushing, he took 6th at MLG Dallas 2010. An amazing player. A little bit quiet lately. And in the first week, I gotta say, he had his chances to beat Stall Life, but wasn't able to execute it. And Stall Life is